Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dicebreaker podcast. I'm your host, Alex Mears, and today I'm joined by Chase Carter, also known as our Texan boy.
Yeah, howdy. It's just two pards on the ranch today.
Yeah, yeehaw!
Yeehaw,
It's
everybody.
another fine day on the ranch, the Dicebreaker ranch. And we've been rearing some excellent board game news and reviews and more. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you sound like like a cattle baron who's just like looking out over his 10,000 acres and just be like, and everything the light touches, my son, that one's yours.
Yeah, I'm the cattle baron, and I'm wearing like a big hat and a white suit with like sparklies, and I'm like looking over the ranch, and then you're like mucking out the cow house or whatever.
Oh, that would be a barn. The cow house is called a barn.
The cow house.
Thank you very much, for making me not your second hand or not some I'm just the crap mucker in the cow house, aka barn.
Yeah, you're the ranch hand.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's everything I've ever wanted.
So it is just us today. Mr. Jarvis is unwell, unfortunately. So thoughts and prayers sent in his direction. So yeah, we're gonna try our best to make this an enjoyable experience for everyone. Please do chat to us. We're filming this live. Suggestions, etc. If you're not listening / watching to this live, you should. We are on YouTube / Dicebreaker, 2 p.m. BST every Friday. We do this, and it's much more fun to experience it live because then you can interact with us and stuff. But later on, we're going to be doing a really fun segment that Mr. Jarvis actually came up with, so we're going to do him proud, involving an AI and your suggestions. So if you have any suggestions for board games, tabletop games, etc., try and keep it in that ballpark of titles that you would want an AI to generate, perhaps a story, possibly called a FanFiction. Then please do put it in the chat because we want to hear your suggestion.
I cannot wait for the Rainier Knizia /fic that we're going to make.
I don't know how you'd feel about that. Yeah, we were talking about him yesterday, and then I did a Rainier Knizia impression, and Chase was like, "Oh my god, that's spot on."
Yeah, I cannot wait for just a slightly horny German accent from you.
I don't know what a horny German accent is, but
we'll find out.
I will try my best. But thank you to everyone tuning in. Hello. We're going to start off with just talking about what we've been playing this week. By the way, this is a podcast about tabletop gaming. Just in case this happens to be your first episode of it, is God save you.
I can't remember the last time we've done an episode that was like a good first episode. Everyone is just sort of like push you off the diving board directly into the deep end of whatever we have going on that week.
Whatever rubbish we're talking about.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm in charge, you never want to be that first podcast. Be one of those.
Well, I mean, we had Liv last time, but remember the last time we made, what was that stupid? I swear I'm not gonna rebake this, but like, what was that CGI?
Movie. We were talking about doing a tabletop role-playing game of Flushed Away.
Flushed Away 2.
Liv is hosting this, and she's just put in the chat "Flushed Away" in all caps.
Yeah, thank you, Liv. Yes, Flushed Away. We role-played some Flushed Away, the tabletop.
Yeah, did the world's fastest role-playing session of Flushed Away.
So that's our baseline that we're kind of working with this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have Liv to kind of calm things down, or also we don't have Liv to make things more chaotic. So I don't know what, because Liv was like, we're just turning this into a Flushed Away tabletop role-playing game podcast now. And I was like, oh, okay, nearly. Like, I'm not the one driving this particular steam train off the rails this time. I don't know what to do. I've got to be Matt Jarvis now.
Yeah, one of Liv's greatest strengths is being able to immediately say, yeah, this is the direction we're going.
Yeah,
whether that is good or whether that's directly off the on-ramp and into the lake.
Yeah, this choo-choo train is going directly into Chaos City. Once again, if you have any suggestions for our segment where we're doing AI fanfic, please put it in the chat and we will make note of it. In the meantime, Chase Carter on live at the ranch.
Yeah,
board game ranch.
We're looking out over the horizon, looking at those beautiful board games as they graze in the morning sun. Yeah.
What have you been playing this week? Tell us.
Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit. First off, and it's a shame that none of the vid team are here to, Liv's hosting, but none of the vid team are here to sort of like join in my discovery because they a couple months ago fell in deep in this hole thanks to Maddie. I played Frostgrave. For the first time with a friend
as well. So...
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you have, so you can talk. Well, okay, so how do you feel about Frostgrave? What's your Frostgrave feelings?
My hot Frostgrave takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty good. I mean, I've not. Sorry, I'm getting suggestions. I've not played a miniatures game before. Frostgrave was my first like proper miniatures game. I played like D&D like 3rd edition, which is like not 3rd edition,
3.5.
3.5. I think it's 3.5 because no one really played 4th because
listen, if you want to get some hot 4th takes, we can go down that road, but
oh my goodness, maybe what does the chat think? Should we do some hot 4th edition takes?
We can get into it. But yeah, 3.5 is like the one that is like really, really granular with its movement and positionality and stuff like that.
Yeah. I played 3.5 with like a proper map and like terrain and everything. And that's kind of was the closest thing I'd done to like a miniatures game. But like Frostgrave was the first miniatures game I played. Yeah. And it's really good. I mean, like, listeners, viewers of the podcast are familiar with the fact that we do like Frostgrave. There are some great Frostgrave videos you can watch right now. Not right now, after the podcast. But, and it's just a really fun, because it's not so focused on having a huge armies, like Warhammer often is. Obviously you've got Age of Sigmar, which is more like a skirmish type game, which is deliberately like trying to remove itself from that kind of.
Yeah, they've both got, I think both like the fantasy and the science fantasy have like their versions. It's Kill Team for 40k and then Warcry for Sigmar, which is like you have 8 to 10 dudes instead of 25 or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna play this game for 10 hours and we're gonna roll for like every single one of our units.
Yeah, we'll just pull this table off to the side for a week until we can meet back up again.
But with Frostgrave, you've got like a wizard who's your main person, and then you've got an apprentice who can kind of do similar things, but it's harder for them to do that. And then you've got your little mercenary sort of scrubs, or squirters, I sometimes call them. I just use the term. I use the term squirter to describe a variety of things, but mostly like little guys.
It's because like a certain generation of people call like little tots like squirt.
It's not anything else. It's just that.
But you verbalized it. They're not a squirt. They're a squirt.
It's just that, James. It's like goobers. Like I use the word goober to describe.
Language has meaning. People are going to hear it and they're going to derive meaning from it.
It's not my fault. You make of it what you want. But yeah, and the game Frostgrave really hinges off like you can cast spells, and it's like you can customize your wizard to kind of do certain types of spells, and that's a really fun element. Whereas again for Warhammer, your units will have each unit will have very specific things that it can do and stats. And same with Frostgrave, but it's like lessened. Like all of your mercenaries will only really be able to do things like move, and then they can use whatever weapon they've got.
got a little
some of
stabby
them
action.
some of them can give you like health potions, but it's your wizard and your apprentice who are like the main so you've only really got two complicated units to manage. Like all the rest is very simple. But that's enough from me. How do you describe it, Chase?
Yeah. Okay. So my favorite thing about Frostgrave is that the thing that you're going for is not to just destroy the enemy team. There are treasures on the map, and your goal is to collect those treasures and then book it to the edge of the board so you can get out of there. Which is nice because it like combat is not the main focus. The goal of the game is not to take your little plastic figurines and smash them into each other, which changes the game quite a bit. It changes the tactics of how you're deciding what you want to do, because in building this, like in setting up the game, you choose where you want to place these treasures, and both players, we play 1v1. You can play multiplayer, which seems like very fun
we've
chaos.
done it. We've played. I've played like a proper 4-player version.
The politics inherent in 4-player games. You're like, hey, if you take out that person, I'll let you have that treasure and I'll just get away. I love that sort of aspect to it. But so you're not out to kill the enemy team outright, though you could if you wanted to, but you wanted to get these treasures and get back, because that's going to give you money to sort of upgrade your units, to like buy more units that pass away or get slaughtered on the field. Like
it'll get you all sorts of things, because those treasure chests can contain money, but they can also contain like tomes, which gets you new spells. They can contain like potions. Various, like some of them can contain like rare items. It's funny because what you get from the chest is entirely decided by a dice roll.
I'm going to get to the dice rolls in just a second. That's like my one kind of like little nag about the game. I guess I can say it now. It uses a D20 for attack rolls, and I think the dice range of a D20 is not great for attacks. I think like at least maybe, and this might be mitigated at later levels after, because we're just starting off a campaign, me and a friend. So like, I mean, there were times where like this person was set up, my friend was set up with a really good sort of like tactical position, and then the D20 just sort of fudged their roll and they rolled low, and it's like, and then like I moved a little thug, which is like the free unit that you can put, doesn't cost you any money, to just like grab a bunch of street thugs and just be like, hey kid, you want to go out and collect some treasure? It's like my wizard, his name was Calcifestus the Grim. He's a necromancer. And so I just imagine this like curmudgeonly old man with like a gravedigger shovel on his back going through the streets, and he's like, hey kid, you want to go make some treasure? And the little kid's like, oh yeah, grabs some daggers and just like follows along. And then he just goes out there and dies. But if the dice roll is nice enough to you, you could absolutely just waylay a larger unit that your opponent spent some money on, because of the swingy nature of a 20-sided die. And that it can feel not so great, especially if you spend your time like maneuvering your units around. Because Frostgrave is one of those games where like you're busting out a measuring tape. Be like, all right, I've got 6 inches of movement. They can move 3 inches that way, and then I'll like sight line this way and do 4 more inches that, which is cool because you can set up some really nice tactics. But that D20 does sort of like, you could do everything 95%, and then that last 5% is just like you rolled a 4 and it's nothing. You do the same thing for spellcasting, but the mitigating feature is that you can supplement your health of your wizard and be like, all right, I needed to roll a 14 to cast this spell, and you rolled an 11. You can just subtract 3 hit points and match that up to a 14 and be like, yep, I just sort of like, stabbed my hand with a dagger, did a little sacrificial bloodletting, and that spell went off, which is a trade-off. And I wish there was some more trade-off functions for combat as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you roll low enough, then it's like, it's not worth it, because you're going to have to subtract so much of your health that you're basically putting yourself on death's door. But I find the game can be very swingy as well. I think the best way to approach it is, because it's a lot of the game is very like YOLO. Just chaos. 1 minute you're good, and the next minute just a yeti will turn up, and you're like, well, now I'm screwed.
Right.
Or you'll try and cast a spell and it just completely backfires on you, and
then you take 5 damage because your spell just blew up in your face.
Exactly.
Like a Looney Tunes shotgun.
I think the way to go into Frostgrave is very much just being like, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put, because I've gotten salty from playing Frostgrave before, where I just rolled. There was one session I was playing, and I was just rolling so badly,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I honestly don't know how it can be worse. Like
Yeah.
this is awful. And I think again, it's just like a lot of games. The best way to approach it is just like, well, it's a game. Like I'm if I'm not having fun, then maybe I should reevaluate things. But yeah, no, I really like it. It is funny. It is
Yes.
chaos.
It was a lot of fun. It is, I think, if you have never played a miniatures war game, like it is, but you have some experience in tabletop RPGs, it's a nice bridge over because you do some character creation with your wizard. You get to come up with like, you come up with a name, you choose their class. There's like 10 or 12 different classes of wizards with like basically spell domains that go from everything from like thaumaturge to necromancer to summoner to artificer. And you'll get to choose spells from within that spellcasting domain and also outward, so you get a lot of like variability to make up basically your class. It's just defined by the spells that you have, which was honestly like the most fun element, because as a necromancer I took the spell called Wizard's Eye, so I could like Wizard's Eye is fantastic
horrible.
because we had a treasure that was essentially right in the middle of the map and it was surrounded by some ruins and trees. And so I put my Wizard Eye on like one of the flat pieces of ruins facing inward. And so my necromancer, Calcifestus the Grim, holding a shovel, just sort of like hunkered back behind and was casting spells through the Wizard Eye and waited until someone was dead and then just like jumped out of there, raised a zombie, possessed them with a demon, and then ran back into hiding while his demon-possessed zombie just sort of like started waylaying people left and right in the middle of that map, which was a lot of fun. Like it's like that's that sort of chaos that you're talking about, that like this game is very much tactics based but also has that sort of creative like there's broad room for like just zany throwing fireballs into the middle of BS. So if you've never played a tactics game, I think, and something we haven't mentioned, it's miniatures agnostic. So like you don't need to buy a warband of Warhammer 40K, whatever. You don't have to spend $120 on plastic, on branded plastic to play this game. You can grab whatever. You can go to your the hobby shop or like even like a craft shop and buy some little figurines, and it may just be a bunch of like little Scotty dogs, but those Scotty dogs are now your army for Frostgrave if you wanted to. It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, there are official Frostgrave minis that we were sent some by Osprey that are good. We built our little war bands with them, so you can kind of be like, oh yeah, this is my my treasure hunter, this is my common thug, etc. But you can also just use whatever. I think Maddie said at one point she just used like little Legos like Lego people. So Osprey games, their miniature games are like that. They are pretty much all miniatures agnostic. They have miniatures that you can buy if you want to, but all you really need is just a book, and like they're pretty affordable as well. So Osprey Games is very much doing the kind of accessible miniatures games, because they're also designed to be a lot easier to kind of learn and get your head around. We really like Osprey games. Maddie was talking about Silver Bayonet last weekend,
which is another Joseph A. McCullough, who's the designer of Frostgrave, which is I think it's like a Napoleonic weird. It's like Napoleonic Wars meets cosmic horror, right?
Yeah. It's Napoleonic Wars meets cosmic horror. Yeah,
which is fun.
Where you're fighting like werewolves and vampires and stuff. Which is again like some. I would say like the setting of Frostgrave isn't particularly like imaginative. It doesn't have. That is one thing you miss out on compared to Warhammer, is it doesn't have that kind of deep lore. It's very much like you can kind of make up your own stories in there. There are campaigns, like book campaigns, that you can play that kind of have more of a story to them. But at its core, there's not like this huge. There aren't tomes and tomes and tomes of lore for you to kind of go through.
Might be a positive for some people.
Yeah, it might be a positive. Yeah, for some people, that they don't need to understand a load of lore to really play it. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. What did you roll? What did you get in your treasure?
We stopped. We went until like late, and we were like, all right, so we have our treasure. We'll wait to roll until the beginning of the next section. So that's like that's sort of our impetus to play again, is to figure out what treasure we got. But I ended up getting 3 of the 5, so I edged out ahead.
Good. Yep. 3 treasures. My goodness.
Oh, I'm gonna be a rich little guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get something in there. There's no like empty option from what I know, so you'll get something. But you know, I've been lucky enough to kind of get some tomes in the past, which is like one of the best things that you can find in that, because it just gets you access to new spells.
Right.
You do need to spend experience to learn those spells. You don't just get them and use them immediately, but getting experience in Frostgrave is also really, really easy, because you can get experience, like, I think you can get experience even if you fail to hit someone with like a spell. As long as you like cast something, then you get the experience. So
it's sort of a catch-up mechanic. Like, even if you don't win, you're not gonna like fall behind someone who just is absolutely crushing game after game.
The only thing is, obviously, if you lose units that aren't free, then you have to pay to hire ones to replace the ones who died. And if you don't have money, it's tricky. But what else have you been playing, Chase?
Yeah, I'll quickly run through this. So I picked up Cascadia from my local game shop and played it. So Cascadia came out last year, 2020? No, I think it came out last year.
2021, yeah.
Yeah, 2021. Sorry. From Flat Out, designed by Randy Flynn. It's it's from my neck of the woods. It's a game. Well, I say that, but America is very big. It's a game set in the Pacific Northwest. It's sort of a tile placing, like not auction, but you're building a sort of like tiles from a group, and then you place them to build out the landscape of the Pacific Northwest, to build out these different habitats. And at the same time, you're picking up these tokens, which have 1 of 5 creatures: elk, salmon, birds, bears, and foxes. And you place them within those tile habitats, which can have up to 3 different kinds of creatures in them, but you just place 1. And you're trying to hit certain like runs. Like for salmon, at least in the base rules, like you want to get like 4 in a row. For the elk, you want to try to get you can get more points for 1, 2, or 3. The bears want to go in pairs together, so like right next to each other. The birds want their own space. So there's all these rules, and these rules can change game to game. You can kind of flip them out with different cards, but essentially the base game is every turn you pick a tile and you pick a token. And you add the tile to your habitat. You kind of like set them next to each other, and then you place one of your little animal tile or animal tokens onto a habitat. And at the end of the game, those will give you points based on how you arrange them. So it's all about sort of like picking what's best, putting it in your little thing, and then optimizing your points. But like, because you draw them from a bag and it's sort of random, you're never quite sure out of like the 4 that's available what you're going to get. And so there's a lot of sort of like best laid plans, sort of best intentions, and then those falling apart, you needing to salvage as many points as possible from like what's left on the board. There is like a sort of like secondary currency that you can earn that lets you like pick, because normally like it's like 4 and they're sort of arranged vertically, and whatever tile you get, you have to get the associated token. There is a secondary currency that you can use to sort of pick and mix between them, but those are like very, very sort of like costly. You don't get them very much, so like you want to save those for like really primo picks out of the 4. It's very like, I mean, on its head, it's a very simple game that is like, I think sort of mechanically deep. It's like how much you can sort of like think and plan. I've played a few games just by myself because it has a fairly, I think it's a really nice solo mode, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But like at first I was just sort of learning the rules, and it's just very fun to just sort of like kind of go in auto mode and just sort of like, all right, I know the rules. I'm just going to like kind of pick and just see how this goes. Didn't really think about it too much. And I was like, oh, neat. I have a fun little arrangement of tiles and tokens on here. That's very fun. And then my next 2 games, I really started like trying to think ahead, 3 or 4 moves, plan out like, okay, I've got this one tile. It's because tiles can have like, say, half of it's a mountain and half of it's a river. And so you'll place that and be like, okay, I want my river to sort of flow this way, and my mountains are going to build out the other direction. Even though I don't see any tiles that are mountains or rivers coming up, I'm going to leave this alone and sort of build the other direction, knowing that I'm going to come back to this once those tiles really come up in my favor. And so if you're able to like know kind of how the game functions, and you're able to think 3 or 4 turns ahead, it is rewarding in like, you know, making that plan, sort of doing that gamble, and having the tiles turn up and just like slamming that that one little tile and token you need at the right moment. So yeah, so it is a game that is, I think, easy to teach. The rule book is very thin as far as like, you know, what you need to actually start playing the game, but you can really start to think and strategize, and it rewards a lot of careful planning. One of my favorite things, someone who plays a lot of board games solo, because my partner likes board games but ends up not being as interested in them as I am, is that it has a fairly, I'm going to say robust, but a rewarding solo mode. Playing the game on your own is fine. I think it's pretty good, but it wouldn't be as effective, I think, if it didn't have achievements in the back. There is in the back of the rule book a list of different achievements where you sort of pick different cards which tell you how the different animals are going to score points, and you mix those up and try to play the game and try to hit a certain score threshold with these sort of specific rule sets. As you go deeper in, there's sort of things like don't play any elk. And even later on, it's like only use 3 of the 5 creatures. Do not play any of the 2 creatures, but still try to score like 80 plus points, which can be very difficult if you don't have access to, you're basically cutting out 40% of the tokens that are in the board that might show up. And so like every play kind of needs to be optimal. So it's, again, it just is those achievements are an added wrinkle on top of like, okay, I'm not just understanding this game, but I'm pretty dang good at it now. Like I'm consistently getting a good score, and those achievements like put certain frameworks and like limitations on what you can do. And you need to see if you can still play to that level with those limitations on top of there. And there's like something like, I think like 50 or 60 different achievements that you can run through with different permutations of the rules. So if you really like Cascadia, like if that sort of like tile drafting and placing game sounds interesting, there's a lot of replayability in this game through the achievements. And I really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games that has been talked about, like it mentioned in various circles recently. It's been nominated for a Spiel des Jahres award, which is like the biggest accolade that a board game can receive. And I definitely heard the name Cascadia pop up. It's also got like a really lovely art style as well, which certainly helps with that. Yeah, that Pacific Northwest flavor. Animals is always a great pick. Wildlife, you know, we've been seeing a lot of that recently with Wingsman, with like Mariposas, with oh god, what other there was Keystone, which is the Rose Gauntlet game. Parts as well, the whole parts. Yeah. It seems like recently we've been seeing a lot of the kind of animal ecosystem wildlife vibes, which is nice. But it sounds really good. It sounds, again, like one of those games that is easy to kind of play, easy to learn, but like there's definitely you can get good, as it were. You can get at it. I'm intrigued. I wonder if there's a digital version of it somewhere. It would be, honestly, it's a game that I wish would come to like Board Game Arena, because it's not a complicated sort of like not mechanical, but like component wise. There's not a lot to it. You have the tiles, you have little animal tokens, and you have the little secondary currency, and then the cards with the rules on. That's it. It's not a chunky game sort of physically. So I wish that there could be like a really good digital. It would even work on like consoles or PC. Like much the same as like Wingspan. I would love to see it get a Wingspan-esque thing with like some nice animations and like outdoor sounds, and like because they also have the animal facts on there and a lot of information about the creatures themselves. So it's like super nicely into vibes. Yeah. So who did the digital version of Wingspan? No, that was Root. Someone did it. Monster something maybe. Monster Crunch, yeah. Monster Crunch. So hey, Monster Crunch, look at Cascadia. Do the same thing there. Y'all did a good job with Wingspan. feel like Cascadia has the potential to kind of go down that Wingspan route of like
with expansions and stuff.
Well, that and like its theme is along with like a big reason why Wingspan is as popular as I think is because its theme is like nice, you know, like people are like, oh, cute birds, like, oh, cute animals, and you know that does help a lot because people will look at the box and go, oh, this feels like something I could play. And also, you know, again, it sounds like it's very accessible, very straightforward, which again is another part of Wingspan's success, is kind of owed to that. So I wonder if this will be interesting to see where this goes.
Especially if it wins the Spiel des Jahres, like that's basically the ticket into a more broader acceptance and success. I mean, look, Wingspan since then has like outsold Scythe. It's been on television shows. Like it has basically become, it's almost entered into this, like if you hear about board games, you'll hear about Wingspan at a certain point.
Yeah. So, and Randy Flynn, who designed Cascadia, has another board game coming out called Tabriz. Which we've written about on the site. That looks very interesting. It's about like Persian carpet. You're a Persian carpet merchant. And that's coming later this year or maybe even next year. And it will be at like Gen Con and probably Essen. So maybe you can, give that a try. Definitely put himself on the to watch pile. Anything else, Chase?
Yeah, a couple other things I'll hit really quickly. I'll use Lost Cities as the sort of segue between me and you. A few weeks ago now, but like since I was last on the podcast, I got together and I drafted with my buddies. We drafted Battle for Baldur's Gate, which was the commander focused set of Magic the Gathering. And it was a lot of fun. We, like my group of friends that I play Magic with, we do Commander a lot. And we used to draft, but we sort of segued from drafting into Commander, and we play Commander. So this was like the nice sort of like melding of the two ways we normally play Magic. So we all went together for a draft booster box, which is the way you're kind of supposed to play the game. It's not a collectible card game. It's very much a drafted, but that's a whole conversation. But we did that, and it was a lot of fun. And I don't just say that because I won, because I just smashed everybody to bits with my very good draft.
Oh wow, Chase!
Yeah, I brought it home. I pulled a mythic creature, a mythic legendary creature in my first pack, along with like my colors stayed open, which means that like the two colors that I played in, red and black, no one else kind of picked up. So basically, all the best stuff made it around the table to me, and I was just like, "Ooh, nice card! Ooh, nice card! Ooh, nice card." The whole game, which made it very easy. But talking to the other folks who didn't have it quite so easy as me, they also had a really good time. Like it was an enjoyable draft experience. Everyone, minus my one friend who I played Frostgrave with, who sort of messed up and didn't understand one of the cards. And so he ended up hoppling himself, but he was a good sport about it. But everyone was able to draft a fairly powerful deck, and we had a lot of really close matches. And I think that this is unfortunately, this has sort of been slept on for a lot of reasons. Wizard of the Coast sort of like sold this set short, didn't do as much with it as it did other sets.
I've not heard much about it. Like the Wizards are really pushing that.
Double Masters.
No, the one before it. The gang one.
Yeah, Streets of New Capenna.
Yeah, I couldn't escape Streets of New Capenna. Like they even did that Ross Kemp thing, which was ridiculous. But, but I've not really heard a peep about Baldur's Gate. Like, yeah, it's interesting. It feels like maybe they've just dumped this out.
It's sort of tied to a lot of the very packed schedule of releases that Wizards of the Coast have set themselves up, and Double Masters, which is the set that just came out or is about to come out. I think it's coming out this weekend. Is like really big, and they're selling a bunch of like really high price, like some of their most expensive products is going to be the Double Masters products. And so I think they dropped Baldur's Gate to start switching their PR apparatus over to this one, which is a shame because I think it's a fun set to draft. But if you're not a big Commander player, it can be hard to break into. I heard some stories of some local game shops not understanding how to draft it, and so kind of kind of hobbling the experience for a lot of people just because they weren't familiar with Commander.
Yeah, Commander is not exactly the standard format, so
Yeah.
you know it's to be expected that Wizards will, you know, are more likely to push the releases for their standard formats rather than Commander. It's not what you want, but it's
yeah, it's the same. I think if you are interested either in that sort of D&D flavor, because this is the second D&D flavored set that they put out after Adventures in the Forgotten Realm last year. If you liked that, there's a lot of flavor from this. There's a lot of like Baldur's Gate 3 references in this. So if you're excited for that game, which there's a new patch for that, I think coming out today, puts in gnomes, puts in the little folk. So but if you like that flavor, if you like Commander, like this is a fun set to play. And because the Wizards has already dropped it, they're kind of dirt cheap right now. You can pick up a box for much less than anything else. So go out there and play it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Chase Carter says, don't sleep on, what's it called? Escape from Baldur's Gate?
Battle for Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Battle for Baldur's Gate, whatever.
It's a title. Yeah. Don't sleep, buy cheap is what I say. And then lastly, I played Lost Cities, which we played together. So
sorry, Liv's talking about, because you mentioned the patch for Baldur's Gate 3. Liv's about gnomes and bards are being released in the patch today. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3. So, and we might be doing more Baldur's Gate 3 stuff in the future. Oh, spoiler alert! Carry on, Chase. Sorry, we played Lost Cities.
Yeah, we played Lost Cities, and I lost both games because, well, it's kind of my own fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Chase and I have been sort of meddling around on Board Game Arena quite a lot because it's a really good platform, actually. It's still a bit clunky. I feel like the invite system doesn't quite work. I feel like I wish it was. Playing the games is fine. There's not really an undo unless we're just not seeing it.
Depends on the game, really. Yeah.
Which is frustrating when you do things wrong. You know, you can kind of get screwed, and then you're like, well, that's it. But like playing the games themselves is pretty enjoyable. No problems there. It's just some of the trying to invite people or trying to like make a new game or exit. It just doesn't feel as intuitive as it should be. But no, we played Lost Cities, which is a Reiner Knizia game. There he is.
Yep, which is why we were doing Reiner Knizia bits.
It's probably his most well-known game, to be honest. It's a 2-player card game, really straightforward. You are sort of trying to get funding to go on expeditions. I always get those two words mixed up. Expeditions to unknown lands, yada yada. There's a bit of colonializing flavor about it, which don't love. And the way you're doing that is you're basically trying to lay down cards in like numerical order for these 4 different sets, and you get cards, 5 sets, and you get them by drawing cards from like the main deck, or you can take cards from a discard area that you know both players can discard to. So you kind of put cards down there that you don't want. So on your turn, you can either play a card onto an expedition, or you can play a card. You can discard a card. And essentially, once you play a card for one of the suits, one of the expeditions, you are in now. That means that you, for every expedition that you put cards down for, you get minus 20 points.
Initially, for sure.
Yeah, initially, because it's like you're getting investment for your expedition from, I don't know, cattle barons, maybe.
Yep.
And you're saying, okay, I'm gonna go on this expedition and I'm gonna bring back stuff to make it worth your while, you know. Again, leaning into that kind of go to other people's lands and steal stuff, which I don't love. So what you really want to do is you want to play as many cards in a suit as possible that you've already put cards down for. You can also use these investment cards, which are not numbered, but you have to play them first. And what basically means
they've got a little handshake.
Yeah, a little handshake. And basically that means that it's like doubling Is it doubling what you can?
It depends on how many. You can do 1, 2, or 3, which doubles, triples, or quadruples your potential score, but also the potential also doubles the investment, initial investment. So you better make good on that one.
And Mr. Chase Carter, you were a whirlwind. I couldn't stop you.
I saw that handshake and I was like, "Ooh, I'll just play that down. Oh, another. I'll play one more. What's one more?
What's one more?" And then you started playing cards in all 5 suits, and I was like, sort of go in my head going, he's bold. Let's see how that works out for him. And spoiler alert, it did not work out for you.
Oh man, I was Mr. Gatsby in the Roaring 20s. I had no foresight of the pool or a bullet in my back. Spoilers.
Oh, spoiler alerts for Great Gatsby. Yeah. I did all right. The first game I did all right. I feel like I may have invested poorly in some of them, but I managed to lay down just enough cards that I kind of beat Chase. I mean, the first game we completely fluffed because we got confused about Board Game Arena was a bit confusing. Like, I think we were like, oh, the discard. Well, I was like, oh, the discard pile is where you play cards for your expedition. No, it's not. It's the other way. It's you pay it under. Your expeditions are under, not on the discard pile. But,
right, because like the board itself is like just a like a little rectangle with 5 colored spaces, and we were putting cards down in there. Like that was where we're supposed to play them.
They're supposed to go, but no, that's where you discard cards.
Yes, the communal discard where you can pick cards from there if you want to. Yeah.
So we restarted. The first game, I just about beat Chase. The second game, you started off being like, I'm gonna hold myself back a bit more. I'm gonna think about what I'm gonna do. And I was
say
that. Yep. And then lo and behold, things went off the rails.
It's very much the oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah. You end up investing in all of the expeditions again, and I was like, well, you're doing it again. Like, why are you doing this again?
Okay, to be fair, that one green card was a mistake, and I was just like, I did it, and then I was like thinking about something else, and I came back, and I was like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah, I was like,
I haven't seen a green card in a solid grip. Why would I put that there? And so that was like -20 right off the bat.
Yeah, whereas I think I just invested in 3 expeditions.
That was smart.
And I managed to. I think it's because I only invested in 3. It meant that I didn't have to like really push myself to try and make them worth it. So I actually ended up in like plus numbers. I think like 100, something like that. But
you did spend the first half of that game drawing from the top of the deck and going, oh no, not again! Like just drawing.
I was mad. I was like, because I wasn't investing in the white expedition. That was the one that I was not. That one and the red one, I was like, I'm not going to do those. And yeah, I kept drawing white cards continuously. And I was like, come on, game! Like, what are the odds of this happening?
Yep.
So I was just sat there chucking cards into the discard pile, just thinking, I don't want this rubbish. And you were just there like crying over all the IOUs you'd signed, the financial debt you're in.
Yeah, I needed to like completely dissolve and go into witness protection because like there was no way I was making that money back. I was gonna get my kneecaps busted.
Just never return from the expedition. Ruler of Flapjack says there should be angel investor cards.
God, I needed it. I needed a unicorn. I needed to tie my fate to Silicon Valley and just like take a bunch of angel investment.
Just take all their money and just go off.
Yeah, I was like, come back from those expeditions, and then all of a sudden I'm the CEO of WeWork, and I'm making bold claims on a TED Talk or something like that.
But that game is really good. Like, it's a really good 2-player game. I love the way the card discard system works, actually, where it's like you've got to think about, okay, I want to open up my hand, more space in my hand, so I can draw cards and get the card that I need for my expedition. But also, is this card going to help my opponent?
Yep.
I mean, I was putting quite a few cards down to help you because I felt a bit bad. I was like, here you go, Chase, have this one. little treats.
I had a couple of turns like that where I needed to get rid of a card. I knew it was a card you won, and I was like, I just need to do better than what Mian's going to be able to do if I give her this card. And well, I didn't, but those are the sort of choices you need to make.
Yeah, and obviously the choice of like which expedition to use. Sometimes to just like continue the game, you just have to like, you've just got to play something. Like you've just got to start an expedition. You've got to make that plunge, because otherwise you're like, well, what else can I do? Like, I don't really want to discard these cards.
And it's one of those card games that's like, you need to like keep in mind what all has been discarded. Like there's only a certain number of cards in each color. And so if you know what's been discarded to the 5 different discard piles, you'll be able to make a much smarter play. So it's one of those, there's a certain amount of knowledge you need to keep it all in your dome while you're playing.
Yeah, you're going to remember, okay, I need to remember what's under this stack.
Yep.
So then, but then you've got to work through the stack. You have to take the cards on the top of the pile.
A turn at a time, which can be gruelingly slow.
Yeah, because once all of those cards come from, like, once all the cards come from the main deck, that round is over. That's it. And whatever you put down on your expeditions, that's what you got. So it does feel like there's a ticking clock. You're like, oh, quick, I've got to put these cards down so I can make it worth their while.
Which was me at the end of both of the games.
I was pushing. I was like, okay, I'll delay a bit longer.
I was pleading. I was like, Alex, please don't draw another card. There's only 5 left. Like, give me just a couple more turns.
I had a thing to do. What else? We also played some Similio last week. Which is a very simple game. Like you could play it. It's so simple you could play it with children. Actually, I think it'd be a really good game to play with children, because I think it would help. Their minds would be able to work in a way that I think would really, really benefit them. But it's a game where you've got one person who has to give clues, and the other people are guessing. And you get sort of a randomly assigned card from the deck. So you lay out these cards in like a grid fashion, and one of the cards is randomly assigned as like, okay, this is the card I need the others to guess. And the way you try and get the others to guess is that you have to play a card from your hand that has either similarities or differences from the card that you want them to guess. And then every round they need to take away sort of an ascending number of cards. So it just starts off with 1 that they take away that they don't think is the one that you want them to guess, and then it goes all the way up to like 3. I think, is it 3 or 4 at once or something? But
the second to last round was 4, and then you have two cards left.
Two cards remaining. They've got to choose the right one to leave down, and that is it. That's the entire game. And there are different packs for Similio. So we played using, it's actually on Board Game Arena, and quite a few of the packs are on there. So we played using like an animals one, there's a fairy tales one, there's a myths one, there's a horror one, and they're almost like levels of difficulty. So I'd say the animal one is like really straightforward. That's like, oh, is this pig like this duck? Whereas we played with the myths one, which was obviously a much higher, I would say a higher level of difficulty. And you have to, obviously, then you're using potential connections of like, oh, is Apollo connected to Athena? Like, is this, because they're all named characters in the myths one. They're not just centaur, there's like a specific centaur.
And they have descriptions as well, so you can use like the descriptions, which are all sort of similar. Like for the myths one, they talk about like their relations and also like sort of what their predominant myth is, and so you can use that information as well. So I believe we did, I think you were trying to get us to guess that one. Yep.
Because Maddie and I were also playing, and you were using some of the relationships between the different characters to get us to try and guess. But obviously, that is dependent on whether anyone actually knows who these people are.
Yep.
Sometimes the descriptions give clues of like, oh, this is the mother of Aphrodite is the mother of Eros. Like, that can kind of give clue. But some of them you have to have some level of knowledge. Whereas like the animal one, it's just animals. Like that one is probably the one that one, or the fairy tale one, or even the horror one. I think you could probably play with children.
Yep.
Maybe the ones where like, I believe there is a histories one as well, where it's like historical figures, and that one's probably a little tougher.
Yeah.
But the artwork's really good, and it's a really simple, fun game. That's Horrible Guild as well. And the actual physical copies come in these little decks. They're like Trump decks. And I think it's a really good game. Like, it's really straightforward. Nothing.
Yeah, totally.
That was really good. I've also played some Gloomhaven Digital.
Nice.
More of that. Yeah. Slowly.
Oh yeah.
Trudging our way through. We managed to finish the scenario that we attempted last time, but we failed spectacularly.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. One of the rooms was just full of the first room is just these stone guys, and they're pretty easy to deal with, to be honest. They're
a little laggy, but yeah.
They can't move that far, but they do pack a punch. Some of the cards they do pack a punch. But the next room is like full of there's these big bears. One of them particularly big bear. He's bad. There's a lot of these horrible ghouly guys who have so much shield, and they like spew gunk at you. It's disgusting. And then there's like 3 dragons in there or something that only fire at ranged. And some of their attacks are really gnarly, especially big drag. And that was where we really failed last time. We failed again where one of the scenarios, one of the random events that we had beforehand really messed us over. So mean. It was like, you're wounded. Also, we're going to steal one of your perk points.
Oh, no, really?
I know, that's really harsh. They actually took those things out in Jaws of the Lion because they were so mean. Because perk points are really hard to get. They're the things that you kind of upgrade your character with. And they're not easy to acquire. So the fact that it took one of them was like, I can't believe this. And then we failed. I died immediately in that scenario. Because I'm playing as a rogue character, and she's really squishy, and most of her attacks are melee, so you have to get up close to really do anything. And so she unfortunately got in a scenario, she just got like ground pounded by 3 golems. And then the others kind of kept going valiantly and died in the next chamber. But the next attempt, we without those horrible penalties as well, we did it. We took it down. We cleared out that room.
Nice.
It was an excellent victory. And the other 2 players, their characters, they're actually getting close to fulfilling their objective. So every character in Gloomhaven has like specific objectives that they want to fulfill. And once they do, they're like, well, I'm going off now because I've done the thing I want to do.
Yeah, bye.
I'm going to go back home and live the quiet life. So the other 2 are like, mine is miles away because it's stupid. So I guess I'm stuck with this character for a while. But the other 2 are almost there. One of them is like, they've got to kill, what are those called? Those little rat guys.
It's not Skaven, that's Warhammer. It's Skaven, they're
Vermlings. They're vermlings.
Yeah,
they've got to kill a load of vermlings because they just don't like vermlings. And the other character just has to have someone get exhausted at some point in a session. It's very weird. I don't even know what mine is because I've barely looked at it because I'm like, well, this is going to take forever to achieve. But no, we are enjoying it. It's very long. It's very hard, but yeah, it's rewarding when you succeed. And you do learn from it. So there you go. That's pretty much everything I've played this week. And Chase, we do have a fun little commercial break coming up that our person behind the scenes needs to do a little bit of technical wizardry to do. So we're gonna set that thing up, but then after we have that little advertisement, we're going to go into our news, which will be a very, very brief, and then we will go into our segment, which loads of people have provided suggestions for. Thank you very much. We will continue to take suggestions, and we'll do our best to do as many of them as we can. But in the meantime, here is a word from our sponsors. Give it away, Liv.
Over at D&D in a Castle.
What is D&D in a Castle? It's an event where you play a dream Dungeons & Dragons campaign with a world-class dungeon master over 3 jam-packed days in an actual 14th century castle.
8 and 12 hours of D&D as part of an all-inclusive vacation.
It's easy to get involved. Just head over to dndinacastle.com to book your epic 3-day D&D campaign with a dungeon master of your choice.
That's the only hard part.
Which bit?
Choosing your DM. It's a list of just great talent. You could book to play with the legendary Gabe Hicks.
Or what about playing with award-winning writers and game designers like Alyssa Teague or Jason Azevedo?
You could have a dungeon masterclass.
I see what you did there.
Hey. You can have a dungeon masterclass from the head of the D&D design studio, Ray Winnegar.
I mean, they even cram in stuff like archery, axe throwing, escape rooms.
And you get to eat like a king in the Great Hall at every meal. Go to bed in this 14th century castle, wake up, and do it all again.
3 whole days where you just eat, sleep, roll dice, and repeat.
It's time to gather your party and venture forth. Learn more at dndinacastle.com. See full list of this year's events and Dungeon Masters. That's dndinacastle.com for your vacation beyond imagination. This week's show is brought to you by our...
Oh, hello, and we're back. Thank you for that sponsor. We're going to dive right into the news very quickly, just to give you a heads up on what's going on the website at the moment. The website being www.dicebreaker.com. That's where the news ranch is. That's, well, more than news. That's the board game ranch. That's where Chase and I live and work.
Yeah, that's where we ply our trade. That's where we
ply our trade, yeah.
Yep.
And Chase did a very interesting...
Yeah, that's a word for it.
Yeah, news piece this week. Chase, do you want to give us a very quick rundown of what that is and what people can expect?
Yeah, so I wrote a quick news piece about the continuing situation with Apotheosis Studios, which is a D&D setting book publisher. They do, books for D&D 5th edition, which has been under a lot of critical scrutiny and public outcry because of the founder and his wife, Jamison Stone and Satine Phoenix, had a lot of allegations about come out against them for the way they basically treated a bunch of people, their employees and contracted workers, as well as just folks in the industry. It's been not great. There is another piece on the website with a sort of rundown of all that you can read. Anyway, Apotheosis Studio is kind of winding down, going into a second stage where they're not going to be making any new product. They're just finishing what they've made. But also they're not going to be offering any refunds on their Kickstarter book, Sirens Battle of the Bars, which they're technically within their rights to do, but a lot of people, since the allegations came out, have been saying, hey, we don't want our money going towards this product anymore because we don't want to agree with your actions. Well, they're not going to do that. So you can read all about sort of how that's come out. It has parts of my interview with Jamison Stone, the founder, and a lot more information about that. You can go read that on the site. Yeah,
it's a spicy meatball. I would describe it as.
Yeah, it's not a good situation.
Decisions were made there. But yeah, we really do recommend you go read that article and read the one that Chase did before, basically summing up the various allegations. The other news article that we want to highlight this week is unfortunately another downer one. But the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, Kazuki Takahashi, has unfortunately passed away. He was found in very unusual circumstances that the police are basically and the Coast Guard are investigating. But he created the manga that the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game is based on, Yu-Gi-Oh, and also that the many anime series are based on, and also anime films. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is huge.
Yeah.
So there's been quite a few. Oh my god, my brain's gone blank. Help me out, Chase.
I need something.
I know. Memories, remembrances.
Obituaries?
Not exactly, but people like talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, what it means, what it means for
Yeah.
them, and thanking Takahashi for his work. Tributes. That is the one that I was thinking of. Thank you, Purchalicious. Tributes. There have been tributes. I've seen a few floating around online just because we're in tabletop gaming community, and it's really sad when someone who's produced such beloved work, like the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game would not exist without Mr. Takahashi's work. And so Chase and I were like, let's just provide a little tidbit of what neither of us really play Yu-Gi-Oh, the trading card game, all that much. Matt's more of a Yu-Gi-Oh person. He really likes the Master Duel video game version. But I believe we both watched the original. In Japan, it's known as Duel Monsters because it's technically the second anime that was released based on the manga, but it's the first one that kind of the Europe and the US had access to, where it's just called Yu-Gi-Oh over here. But yeah, we have our memories of that series. Do you want to share a quick one from you, Chase?
Oh man, yeah. So like, Yu-Gi-Oh came around, at least in the US, after Pokemon, and definitely after Magic the Gathering, which is funny. If you look into the history of the manga, the Yu-Gi-Oh card game in the manga was a riff on Magic. I think it's actually called Wizards and Magic or something like that is the translation. Yeah. Like, it's absolutely a riff on Magic the Gathering. So that's a cool tie anyway. But it came afterwards where, like, as a kid my age, like in the late 90s, early aughts, like card games were big. Like, everybody was making a trading card game. Everybody and their dog had a trading card game. But Yu-Gi-Oh like really hit big because they launched it alongside the anime, and the anime was, for me, that was fantastic. Are you kidding me? Like a show about card games, and the whole thing of like you could put them on a digital board and like the monster showed up. Like, oh, come on, that was good. So like I went out and bought. Like I was like being babysat by my grandmother, and I made her go out and I spent my allowance on that like starter tin of cards that had Dark Magician and Summon Skull in it. And boy howdy, like the art on those cards was unlike anything that like Pokemon had done. It was unlike any of the Magic cards that I had, and so like it captured just a different slice of my imagination. And for a while, like, and also the numbers were huge. So as a little kid who didn't really understand the ramifications, I was like, big numbers, that's obviously better.
Yeah.
So for a little bit, Yu-Gi-Oh just like absolutely captured my imagination.
Yeah, I never really touched the trading card game until very recently, where I kind of dabbled with it. Particularly Speed Duels is a fun time. But yeah, firstly, chat, if you've got any Yu-Gi-Oh memories you'd like to share, please do let us know, or tweet at us at Join Dicebreaker, or email us at contact@dicebreaker.com. And we will share your Yu-Gi-Oh memories perhaps on the next episode of the podcast. But I remember watching some Yu-Gi-Oh when I was of the young age, when it kind of was being aired, because like Chase said, it was aired around the same time, just after Pokemon, and Pokemon was massive. I was more of a Pokemon person because I was into video games anyway. But I do remember watching episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just being like, oh, this is like so extreme, because it was like the darker version of Pokemon. It's like
yeah, you lose a match and you're trapped in the Shadow Realm.
Shadow Realm, yeah. Whereas in the manga, I believe people literally just die, like
yeah,
because they're gambling kind of on their lives. But
I think Coda Blair brings it up in the chat and saying like the original manga was not just card games, but other games, like just a whole bunch of games. And that's why it's called the king of games.
And obviously Pegasus, shout out to my boy Pegasus.
Oh.
Shout out to Joey Wheeler. He's an icon to himbos everywhere. And of course, Karibo. Karibo,
the goat.
You're my sweet little friend. I wish I could get I bet there's like a plushie Karibo that I can get.
Yeah.
Because they're so cute. I love them. Just a little puffball with little feet coming out. Yeah.
I live for the moment in the anime episodes where it's like, I got the win on you, and he's like, you forget I combined my Karibo with this other card to make the ultimate defense. And it's just like 400 little fur balls just like flying at this monster. And they do the thing of like, no! And then it's light and explode. It's very fun.
Karibo is underrated.
Yeah, Karibo's very good.
Also, a very specific that I didn't watch the series this was part of. I think it might have been part of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. But there is a meme video that is incredible and lives for my heart forever. Actually, there's two Yu-Gi-Oh! Meme videos which are great. There's the one that Will shared with us, which is someone doing. No, it was the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! But the person doing like voice lines for a mammoth, like a mammoth type creature, and it sounds exactly like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's amazing. And then there's a wonderful meme video, which is there is like a section of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I think, where an American guy is being very American, and he's talking about how he's like an archaeologist, and he finds like dinosaur bones, and like he had one of his legs replaced by a dinosaur bone or something. And
That
then he's like, now I've got Dino DNA, and now I'm like, I love Dino DNA. Just type into YouTube Dino DNA if you ever want to watch this video. It's incredible. There you go. There's our Yu-Gi-Oh! Memories.
Yeah, listen, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, from everything I know, is incredible. It's rich. It's much larger than you probably realize. And if you want to get into Yu-Gi-Oh!, I hear that they're kind of friendly. Like a
version is
oh yeah, and
really
Master
good.
Duel is really good.
Master
We've
Duel,
got some videos and articles on it on the site, so you go check it out.
Definitely, I would recommend that you give Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel a go, because Matt Jarvis certainly recommends it. He's a big fan. So yeah, other articles that I advise you to go have a look at. We've got a really fantastic feature from I'm sorry about butchering your name, Dave Farmavor, on the site about Vecna, who is featured in the latest season of Stranger Things, basically giving you a rundown of who the hell is Vecna. We've also got a feature based on a wonderful video that our own Michael Whelan did about Hanafuda cards and their connection with Nintendo. We've also got a regularly updated article featuring some of the best board game deals you can find on Amazon Prime through the Prime Day.
Prime Day's coming up.
So if you want to find some hot new deals, please come over to the site and have a look at that. So we've gone through that. Now we're going to do a very fun thing that Mr. Jarvis has recommended to us, which is there is an AI tool, a free AI tool that you can use called InferKit Demo, which basically you type in some words into a search bar and it comes up with it basically writes a story for you based on that concept. So we've been collecting various ideas from the chat for this surrounding board game and tabletop role-playing game. Chase and I are going to generate some using your ideas, and then we're going to basically do like a fun reading of the first couple of paragraphs or so of the board game fanfics that your suggestions and the AI have helped birth into the world. So I've taken this suggestion that was the first suggestion that I saw, which was Monopoly Man Tax Evasion.
Oh, good.
That I believe was provided by, I'm sorry, I didn't take a lot of the names, by someone in the chat. Thank you, whoever it was. It's a fantastic idea. So I'm going to start reading this out. Okay, this is interesting. Right. This has gone very deep.
Yeah, how long do you want to make these?
Yeah, I don't want to make them too long, because obviously we don't want to be here forever. But yeah, this AI has done very interesting things. It's basically I put Monopoly Man tax evasion, and it's basically gone really deep into financial. It's basically ignored the Monopoly Man bit, and now it's just talking about tax evasion. So I might actually skip that idea because it doesn't seem to like it. So I'm gonna do cosmic encounters, and romance, and let's see how that goes. Yeah, let's see what that produces. This is very much an experimental thing, folks. Okay, this is great. So this cosmic encounter romance fanfic starts with just number 3. There's the words number 3. Sitting on the porch, Holly was enjoying her freshly squeezed lemonade. He was right. A glass of ice-cold lemonade never tasted better than on a hot summer day. He'd also realized she'd taken the couch, but that was no problem. She hadn't touched it since she found him again. They had a new routine. Every time when they came back from school, Holly would turn the kitchen chair to the edge of the porch and sit on the steps. Robert would pick her up and toss her down the steps. Holly would kick and scream until Robert got tired of it. Then she'd spend most of the day on the couch with a towel over her head. This is bizarre. This is bizarre, Chase. Where's the cosmic encounters bit? I feel like this has just gone bonkers. This AI does not care about. Oh, okay. So it mentions cosmic powers, which is fun. It's this AI is more interested in the romance part of this thing than it is in the cosmic encounters part of it. Have you had any particular luck?
See, so the next suggestion was Real Housewives of Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought would be fantastic. And this has given me a sort of like Netflix-esque sort of like pitch deck for this.
Okay.
We'll see how this goes. The next full trailer for the upcoming Netflix comedy Derek, which I don't know where they're getting Derek, which you can watch above.
Which, it's called Derek.
Yeah, Dungeons and Derek was just released, and it's full of fantastic one-liners and ridiculous one-liners. While we wait for those, here's a short teaser. Derek's cast of absurd characters are brought together by a quest to save their friend who is being held captive by a coven of Satan worshippers. This 10-episode series will see the 4-episode fantasy horror series be available to stream on Netflix. The trailer features some absolutely fantastic one-liners. They're really leaning into that one-liners bit.
One-liners, yeah.
Here's some of those fantastic one-liners, including, "My God, the pain." And, "I've had dreams like that before, but never was sure what they meant." And, "Amber, if you keep flashing that witch, I'm gonna have to torch this place."
Flashing that witch?
Don't flash that witch.
Chase!
That guy stuck with the hippie chick. Just you wait. David Cross plays a frustrated husband forced to accompany his wife, Amber Tamblyn, to a fantasy role-playing convention called DragonCon. There, they find themselves in the company of superheroes, mutants, and more.
Oh my goodness. I want to watch that. What's it called? Derek?
Yeah, it's called Derek. So look, this holiday season, December 8th, Derek's coming to Netflix, apparently.
Yeah, Derek. Wait, is his name even Derek, the character?
I'm guessing David Cross plays the titular Derek.
Presumably he plays Derek.
Yeah. And I'm guessing his wife, Amber Tamblyn, plays herself Amber, because she's the one flashing that witch.
She's flashing that witch. That was great. Was that Real Housewives of D&D?
That was, yeah. It had very little D&D, and no. I don't think any Real Housewives. But hey,
it mentioned tabletop role playing. That's something, and Derek, of course. Oh wow, this is great. Okay, so I put Clue and Scooby-Doo in, and I fear that we'll get a lot of Scooby-Doo and not a lot of Clue. But here we go. So this is how it starts off. Now I know what you're up to, said a dirty man in a striped shirt peeking out from a dumpster. I'm making my way home. Don't mind me. I'm looking for my dog's scent to find him, said Shaggy. What is this, Clue? Are you asking me a question? Do you know where my dog is? Clue's eyes narrowed. So Clue is apparently the name of this other person that Shaggy's dealing with. You seem a bit hasty. What makes you think I know where your dog is? Clue blushed and scooted away. Shaggy shrugged. Then it could be that you just think you know where my dog is. Shaggy began to run towards the end of the street, and the old man stepped out of the alleyway and began to chase him. Trip me, I dare you. Try and trip me, old man. I don't have any diseases that can harm you.
Wow.
Shaggy died round the corner and through trees until he reached the old man. Okay, how much of your poison will you spill on me, said Shaggy. One gulp of your drink, I dare you. The old man sucked in a big gulp, and died round the back of the house where he hid behind the stoop and waited for Shaggy to pounce. This has gone places that I just cannot believe. This is a story about Shaggy and a person named Clue who seems to be an old man, maybe? Or maybe that's someone else? And Shaggy just having a go at this old man. We don't know where Scooby-Doo is. He doesn't exist in this, apparently. Although it might be this dog. This mysterious dog that Shaggy's looking for.
I'm more sort of aghast at the disease part of this whole thing.
I don't know what's going on. It's got really dark. It's like 28 days later or something. There you go. That was Scooby-Doo and Clue. Chase, do you have one for us?
Yeah, I'm trying. I keep doing different permutations of, because we've got the suggestion Battleship the movie fanfic, and I keep putting in stuff, and it keeps giving me essentially advertising pitches. I don't know why this thing.
The battleships.
So let's try one more time to get this thing. Give me
something.
something.
I'll get another one lined up. The I don't know how the AI is going to respond to this, but we'll give it a go. People are saying we should put these on the website. I don't know how we would do that in terms of like what the format of the article would be.
we can look into it.
Yeah. Also,
okay.
Thanks to JC Bullock for becoming a member of Dicebreaker Plus.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome to the fold. Also, Coda Blair has been a member for 5 months. And they suggest we should put some of this stuff on the website. We can try.
Okay. Yeah, we will see about putting some of these up there.
What have you got for us, Shay?
Okay, so Battleship movie fanfic, Fighting the War on Terror 3.
Oh, wow, I love that.
This thing has auto-completed the title for me because apparently it needed a colon slash.
Yeah.
All right, released 1 year later, the Admiral Nimitz directed film. I didn't know Admiral Nimitz was a film director, but the Admiral Nimitz directed film played up the good news on the state of the war, reminding viewers that the Pacific War was ending and showing a movie theater full of returning American soldiers in San Francisco celebrating the end of the conflict. Parentheses, it also appears to have been filmed on the WGA's No Pagers Allowed set on the X-Files, but that's a whole other story. Away from Hollywood, away from Hollywood, veteran actor James MacArthur, didn't know he was an actor as well, re-recorded the original Christmas Carol for a 2003 Christmas special, but many found the new version not only unfitting for the holidays, but worse, an insult. Some, like some AARP executives, even suggested MacArthur should be tried for war crimes. Well,
goodness.
AARP executives, me and you both. Quote, we don't want any recurrence of this kind of incident, they said.
Oh my goodness.
That was a horrible song. Decades earlier, the composer of that No Muss, No Fuss song was a far more bellicose man. There are too many sick people in the world, Arthur Sullivan, the son of the famed English composer, wrote.
Back to sick again. What is with this AI? It's obsessed.
Yeah. Too much illness.
I know. Well, yeah. I feel like we got too much of that at the moment. That was fun. That went places. From Battleship sequel to industry drama.
Yeah.
I've typed in a suggestion of Warhammer Horus Heresy. So let's see what this has made. So this is how it starts. I don't know if these are real characters' names or whether they just made this thing up, but we'll see. The struggle is only the beginning. Awaken, lad. The awaken awaits. Morten Jensen, master of Warhammer. That was what he said. Dark Angels, Alumen, Slayers, Chimeras, and Blood Ravens arrive in force. Their armor stands out like a rotten tooth. They carry a half a dozen swords of eldritch precision. And once the chaos wreaks its havoc on the battlefield, the bloodlust spreads. Chaos springs forth men in armored breastplates and spearmen wielding bladed weapons to take down the undefenseless enemies of Horus and Horus's legion. The blood flies from the bodies of both the mighty and weak alike. Monstrous monsters spawn from the depths of the chaos wastes. Your players are heroes, it's true. Heroes whose relentless struggle to defend their way of life breaks all the rules. But all heroes must confront a terrible foe, one in which the laws of reality can no longer keep up with the horror at hand. And so we have tried to capture the Warhammer theme and bring it to life in an amazing range of neo-revised rules for Warhammer 40,000. First of all, they have all been written by a small team of writers within the 4K community who have brought forth their incredible skill and experience to write the actual rules and tell you exactly what the themes races should look like. This again, this seems to go from like fiction to suddenly we're back in the room and there's like an executive trying to sell this idea to someone. It seems this AI generator can't help but try and make money. Maybe this is what it's meant to be for.
I mean, listen, I loved the first part the most because that is absolutely like some. That might as well just come from a war scroll. That's just genuine Warhammer stuff right there.
Awaken.
Awaken some more. Are you awake yet? Okay, so I did Ocean's 11. The robber from Catan does Ocean's 11. And what it's given me is essentially like what looks like a Board Game Geek forum post about this, whatever this is. I really like Ocean's 11. I've read the book. I've seen the movies. I've even played the board game with my parents once. But I didn't realize that the gameplay also adapted really well to the card game's variant. There's a Wild West theme going on in this game, but that doesn't really matter. All you really need to know is that there is a sheep of some kind that are randomly acquired. You have a wagon that you can make into a gun to shoot at your opponent. And you can make it into a boat to rob other people. Play this game with your family. It will be a fun, interactive experience and will encourage you to not run out of resources. It's a perfect game for kids that are learning to play games. They will learn how to play from watching other players, and it's not easy to lose. There's only 3 rules, but that's more than enough. Some of the rules. Play until someone reaches 30 gold coins. Play until someone reaches 15 temple keys. When 2 players start a tie, each player takes 1 card and passes the remaining cards to the other player until the tie is broken.
Okay, that had almost seemingly nothing to do with...
Nope. They mentioned a sheep and also a wagon that turns into a gun.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Someone put Barren Park, Planet of the Apes. I'm gonna try and try and use words that I think are actually going to create something of that nature, because I don't think this AI is going to understand what Barren Park is. And I put Planet of the Apes in it. It was doing something that was very odd. So I'm going to try and do something that will give, it's inspired by the concept of Barren Park, Planet of the Apes. So we'll see what this comes up with. We're going to put the AI actually in the chat for you folks, so that you can try this yourself whenever you'd like, and maybe you can share your discoveries with us through @join Dicebreaker or contact @dicebreaker.com. Okay, here's what it's created. I use the words bear, rebel in the park. And let's see what this is made. So it was hard to say how many, if any, prisoners remained in the park. Only a few days prior, the garrison's commander claimed that the enemy would attempt a massive attack at dawn, when the battle line would be near the park. However, he added, no sooner did I make these declarations than my soldiers were driven back from the walls of the rebel camp. The battle was over, and the rebels had made quick work of the position. While the governor was not expected to offer a fuller account of the battle, these facts are all that was recorded. The governor's report concluded that in some words of sorrow, observing, no matter how valiantly the rebels fought, I do not think the loss was suffered by them was excessive. Bear in mind, okay. That's where the bear bit is.
Great.
Bear in mind, the spirit of modern war is to do whatever is possible to maintain control of the opposition. In the rebel camp, there may be many reports of how the guards mistreated prisoners. This conduct would explain why the rebels rejected terms offered by the bear and fought until victory. So there is a bear's army, it mentions. But I think it's using the term bear as like being the name of a person or like a position rather than actual bears. There you go.
I don't know how you're getting like actual stories, because mine keeps like doing some weird like other format. Like, so
yeah,
I've
seen that as well. I think when it gets confused with certain things you put in that doesn't recognize, it's like cannot compute.
we've got the prompt here, wingspan, but they're all Angry Birds.
I don't know if wing. Okay, wingspan is like a word that it can use. Like, why is it?
But it's basically given me is like the different kinds of Angry Birds that you can use in this game, where it's wingspan, but they're all Angry Birds. So here we go. Here are some birds. The Hooters.
Birds.
Yeah, the Hooters Hooter is a hammerhead, which is 90% of its length. So there's one.
The Hooters Hooter.
The Hooters Hooter. Yeah. But with a giant hammerhead that's 90% of its length. The Wasp is a cross between a hydrophile and a golden eagle, sometimes referred to as a hawk.
Sometimes referred to as a hawk.
Yeah, the bee eaters are a very aggressive primate. There's one bird. The genet is a snake that stings its own tail, as its skin is so tough they barely notice it when they use it to sneak up on you. It eats spiders! !
It eats spiders!
Yeah. The big-eyed bird is a cat, but with the bottom set of eyes removed so it can see far away. The cat bear is a big black bear with two front paws in front of its face like a cat.
Like a cat.
The zombie has one eyeball made out of glass that is always on the back of its head.
It's always on the back of its head.
The direwolf is a werewolf that can turn into a dog, but then gets in trouble for not having... Well, we can't read that one, that's for sure. We've gone blue. The AI generator has gone very blue with the direwolf.
Oh my goodness. Direwolf.
The coyote is a very fast, cunning animal that gets involved with dogs and can turn into one, but sometimes cannot control its hunger for cats. And then finally, the goose is a very beautiful red and white goose, but it is cursed with a small beak.
Oh no, it's cursed with a small beak.
I mean, who hasn't been there? Who hasn't been cursed with a small beak?
The Hooters Hooter.
I do like the Hooters Hooter.
I do. I want to imagine what the hell that thing looks like.
Well, imagine a hammerhead that's 90% of its length. That's very explicit. And then you just sort of let your brain finish the job, draw the rest of the owl.
Mojo Jojo says AI beak shaving.
This is interesting that I have not gotten some like actual like fiction. I'm wondering how I do that. How do I tell this thing? Give me a story.
Derek. Oh no, that wasn't fiction though. That was more like a pitch.
Yeah, that was like a TV guide insert telling me about this show that's about to come on.
I mean, you know that Netflix wouldn't make it because they've stopped doing that now. They don't make it anymore. They just exist to have friends on there. And
what if I just type in Wingspan fan fiction?
That will be interesting. I've run out of free uses of this, by the way, so that's me done.
Oh, there's...
Yeah, it will ask you, are you out?
Oh, you get certain weekly free characters. I typed in Wingspan fanfiction just to see if I get something, and it typed in Wingspan fanfiction story 1, and it repeated that numerically up to 16. That was it. That's what I got. And then it says share this on Facebook.
Share my great thoughts on Facebook, everyone. The audacity of that AI just to be like, you need to share my stuff on my great stuff.
It really likes its own work. Okay, I've got 455 free words left. Let's
come on.
What's what do we throw in here for my last 450? Chad, what's this last one?
Yeah, what last story will Chase make using AI? You need to provide us with an idea. Let us know what you think. People are talking about Hooters.
I'm going to take the sampling temperature down a little bit to see if that helps out. It gives me like an actual story instead of like...
Coda Blair says root Game of Thrones.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see what that produces. Probably mostly Game of Thrones stuff is my bet, but we'll see where it goes. Oh no. Not well.
I don't know what's going on here.
What has happened, Chase? What has it given you?
Nothing says winter is here like a classic Game of Thrones tattoo. The show's return, oh god. Oh no.
Please don't come back, yeah.
The show's return is just around the corner, and that means that fans are already in full-blown tattoo frenzy. Whether you're all caught up with the show or are still watching for your first taste of Westeros, the tattoo trend is for you. The top choice? A wolf, of course, on the back of your neck. We've rounded up the best game of... This thing is just giving me clickbait articles. It just keeps making clickbait articles for me. And I don't... Am I supposed to be judged by that? What am I supposed to draw from the way this AI is treating me?
It wants to sell you things, Chase.
It truly does. Like, this is just a door-to-door salesman for bad pitches.
Argir Rahan says AI knows about the Jon Snow spin-off. Nathaniel Levy says season 9 confirmed on Dicebreaker.
I cannot imagine. I like truly after the last couple of years could not imagine how reality would get any darker. And then this thing said that Game of Thrones is coming back.
Yeah, you should get tattoos about it, Chase.
And everyone should tattoo.
Yeah, listen, everyone should tattoo Game of Thrones stuff.
I have some friends who are teachers and are just now starting to see children like in their like primary, or if you're in the States, like elementary school, like teachers, and they're just now seeing kids with like names like Khaleesi and Arya in their classes. No. And it's just
the Arya one I get because that's a name that's like been used elsewhere.
Sure.
But Khaleesi is a title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, you're getting a lot of those sort of things. They're finally getting into school age, which means they're finally old enough to have shame over their parents' decisions.
Oh. You can legally change your name if you want, kiddo.
Please do it. Yeah, it's a nominal sum, but it'll get rid of that curse.
I think that's it for the segment, everyone. Thanks so much for your suggestions. Maybe we'll do it again. Maybe Matt will buy us a subscription. Yeah, or we'll just drag Matt on to use his character. I suppose it is a weekly thing, so we could always, do this another time. Yes, Chase Carter.
I'm reading through the doc because I just really want to know why I'm getting slammed by this thing so hard. And I think it's because you need to like start a sentence. Like you need to sort of give it the beginning of a sentence. Else it's going to kind of just guess at what you're going to get. So we really should have like fictionalized this a little more.
Okay.
So I think the next time we do this, we should ask folks to give us like the first line of this board game fan fiction, and then the AI generator will make the rest.
Yeah, give us the first line of this fan fiction, and then we'll do the rest. We'll definitely do this again. So return for future Dicebreaker podcast episodes. Like I said, we're here every Friday, 2 p.m. BST. You can't miss us. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
If you have enjoyed this, please watch some other videos on YouTube/Dicebreaker. Go to dicebreaker.com. We got a great video from Wheels coming out this weekend. You should watch that. You can also join Dicebreaker Plus and get access to some wonderful membership-only videos, including us watching Battleship together and talking about it. It's very bad.
Yep.
Other than that, thank you so much for joining me, Chase Carter.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a good time.
Thank you to everyone else for joining me. I've been Alex Meehan. This has been the Dicebreaker podcast. Stay safe. Most of all, have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.